Well, I didn't want to come to this point, but I guess I'm going to have to say something about it. You know, I taught political history and political theory, and I studied the founders of our country. In fact, I recently found out that I have 7 of my great-grandparents who fought in the American Revolution on my grandmother's side. And so I came today to the realization that I have to say something about the current political climate that's going on. And that is that one of the things that the founders feared so much was the gullibility of the people. And I think they had this idea in their heads that, as Madison said, for example, you have to protect the government from the people and the people from the government. And that's why they created a system that they did, which was, for example, the Senate would not be elected by the people. The Supreme Court would not be elected by the people. The Electoral College would be put into place to protect the people against a demagogue. And unfortunately, the Electoral College does not work like it's supposed to at this point in our history. So there have been talks about trying to eliminate it, and if it's not going to work like it's supposed to, then it should be eliminated, in my opinion. But the founders were so fearful of the people who were gullible and a tyrant or a despot or a demagogue. And a little funny note here where Voltaire was asked about a democracy or a monarchy, and he said, what's the difference between getting eaten by a lion or 1,000 rats? And so one of the few people that had this romantic view of us was Jefferson. Jefferson believed that the people could make wise decisions, and John Locke, also the great philosopher, also believed that the people could make wise decisions. Rousseau believed that people are good, but institutions made them gullible, or in chains, as he said. So we need a system in place to protect, as Madison said once again, to protect the government from the people and the people from the government. And so how did they protect the people from the government? They created the Bill of Rights. But they were also, as I mentioned before, afraid of a demagogue, a person that would use tactics that would manipulate the masses. Now, as I mentioned before, Jefferson believed in the people as long as they were educated. If they were educated, they could make wise decisions. But as we all know, as being a former instructor, our educational system in the last 20 years has gone down the drain. And to me, in a quick little side notes here, it was the Republican Party trying to dismantle public education, to privatize it, and hire people that would run these private entities or schools, and they would become for profit. But that's a different story for another day. And so the founders were so fearful of a despot, and so they created impeachment, the impeachment process, and they felt that the members of Congress would do the right thing, no matter what political party affiliation it would be, that they would do the commonsensical thing, and if evidence was found, preponderance of evidence, or even, evidence to the furthest point of finding that person responsible for those crimes, that he would then be sent to the Senate and put on trial, and then 2/3 of the Senate would then either convict him or not. they had this idea, and I believe we should implement this, Madison and others, that we should, as they did in Lacedaemon, in Greece, they put every king of Lacedaemon on trial after 6 years, after their term was over, to see if they broke the Constitution. If they broke the Constitution, or if they followed the Constitution, then the ramifications would equal to the crime they had committed against the Constitution or against the people. And they thought about implementing that into our Constitution, where all presidents will be put on trial after the term, which is 4 years, and to see if they had committed any crimes or against the Constitution. And the Constitution was created to create some form of social control. It was there to maintain order, and that's the purpose of government, to maintain order. And if the government doesn't maintain order, then something has to be done about it. Much like the Articles of Confederation and Shays' Rebellion proved that the Articles was not doing a very good job of maintaining order. So governments are there to maintain order, and all this talk about the government infringement, yes, sometimes it gets carried away, but the government and our government and the Constitution are the greatest government ever created by any country on earth. The founders created this system that was, for lack of better words, precisely what America needed and still needs today. And if it needs change, that's why they created the amendment process. But when a person begins to use methods that would entice the people to go beyond what they're, just demagogic ways of hugging the flag or using religion or saying they were sent by God, these are demagogic tactics. These are dangerous tactics. And politicians should not go up to the middle of the river and do these types of things. The old saying was, you can only go to the, to the river bank and don't go into the water. And that's, the water is basically, or the river, is where you should not creep into. But, well, our former president has gone into the river, in fact, into the ocean. And again, I'm not trying to say that Biden is the person that we need at this point. In fact, if you would tell me if he's the right person, I would have to think twice about it. But the other decision that I have to make is, well, is he better than what is on the other side? And the answer is yes. But there are many people on the other side, on the Republican ticket, that I would not mind being president of the United States. Jeb Bush, Chris Christie, whoever might be. I think they could be people that are willing to follow the rules and follow the Constitution. It's hard to tell the American people that they need to wake up, but we need to wake up. If we want to save this republic, we have to wake up. Franklin warned us, and he said, it's a republic if you can keep it. John Jay wrote a letter to Thomas Jefferson saying that if republicanism fails in America, it will never be tried again. So if it fails, that's it. Yeah, and if you like republicanism or democracy, then this is what we need to do, is stand up and say enough is enough. I know you have to hold your nose and say, I'm going to vote for Joe Biden even though I don't want to. But you have to do what's good for the republic. Sometimes you have to sacrifice. Look at what the founders did. That's why they basically, George Washington told them to cover the windows, and nobody was supposed to say anything of what was going on inside the convention, because they were going to vote against their own judgment and their own, well, not their own judgment, but their own self-interest. And they didn't want that rumor or that what they voted on to go outside the door, because the people in their home state would find out about it, and then they might not get reelected. So everything was done within the closed doors of the Constitutional Convention, because they were afraid that that if people knew what they were saying, that they would not vote properly. But they did what they did because they were voting for what's best for the Republic. And this is what we need to do now. Do what's best for the Republic, for which it stands. One nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Be wise, America. Be wise. Choose well. Thank you.